All right. I think we're ready to go. Hey there.
Mate.
Why did you go by me?
Sorry. No, he made me do it. Right.
Hey there. Welcome to Motorcycles and Misfits here at the Recycle Garage in sunny Santa Cruz, California. And
sunny it was.
Marina.
Yes.
And Jordan, where are you right now? Still in Santa Cruz?
We're on our way out. I think we're going to go back to Hollister tonight.
Somewhere near Santa Cruz. Hey, everyone. This is Liza. And, we got some good topics for you tonight. But first, let's get to all the Misfits who are here. Let's start with everybody's favorite exotic. Though, you guys, I had a special moment. I had Henry, John Dalton, and Knock all together with me. I'm like, oh, my favorite exotics. It's Knock.
The trifecta of soy sauce, as I like to call it.
I just looked up and look at all these beautiful men. And Knock.
I'll take that. I don't hear it very frequently, but I'll take it. Oh, fuck you, man.
I'm kidding.
No, that's true, though.
All right, coming to us from his garage, it's Bagel.
Please pass the ponzu.
I never understand half the things you say.
That's okay. I don't either.
Perfect.
All right. Oh, sporting his too cool CC trucker cap. It's Naked Jim. Oh, you're still muted. There you go.
What's up? No, I'm not. I was just going to see if you'd say that. What's up? Peace, love, and soul. Yeah. And I'm not in my shop tonight. I'm in my new adult room.
You mean the office?
I do a cool motorcycle painting up there.
The adult room. That could be any. Yeah, okay, we'll go.
The magic happens, Joe.
We'll go with that.
We'll get adult later. Let me get a little boozy.
All right. And of course, with her, what are they, Kachina dolls behind you?
Yes.
It's Miss Emma.
Hello, darlings.
Hey.
I also am surrounded by 3 exotics.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Emma, now I can counter your exotics with a Scotsman.
What?
Oh.
Everyone's got their dolls out. What is up with that?
Oh,
Blow them up. Let's blow them up.
And then our special guest to the garage today, joining us from the truck, it's Jordan and Kris. How y'all doing?
Hi.
Hey.
Hey. Yeah, you guys,
Thanks for having us today.
yeah, you guys got to come hang out at the garage. And I
They got a
hope
car full of dogs, too.
I hope you had a fun time today.
Definitely.
We definitely did.
Yeah, I caused a little bit of trouble. I
new?
brought Kris into it too. We had a good time.
It was great.
But let's talk about what is new, what's going on in the garage. We had a lot of stuff going on today. Emma, you had your hands full helping everyone.
Yes. Gosh. We always do a great deal in the garage, so it's hard to remember exactly what we did, but we resurrected a Buell Blast, which is great. I mean, it's like riding around on a big thumping bass drum.
My favorite part of that is the fact that Bagel rode up on it.
Indeed, I did.
I have never seen Bagel on a motorbike.
That was the second time. That was the second time.
Like either.
Yeah. And then we did crank seals in a vintage Kawasaki 2-stroke and rear wheel bearings in a WR 450cc.
Nice.
And yeah, bunch of stuff.
You know, you can always tell that it's Bagel when he's on a motorcycle because he brings his feet up, puts his feet on the engine and puts his knees together because that's how he's used to riding.
Yes.
It looks very weird.
So Bagel, how was it like riding that motorbike, man? I know it's not your first time riding a motorbike, right? Or is it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've ridden motorcycles before, occasionally, but it is awkward. I kept, looking for the twist grip to shift.
Yep. No,
and I had
Bagel
to remind myself to
he's
use my left foot,
cheating.
but it worked out all right.
Yeah. I think
Oh,
you
no.
feel anything on your scooters by riding a motorbike, Bagel?
No. There's
The
plenty of
scooters are
love to
judging
go
you.
around. No, there's plenty of love to go around to all bikes.
And
But the Blast was actually a lot of fun. It's got a nice kick for a 500 single, and it's loud as hell. So, and I'm not used to having a loud bike, so I was having fun like waking up the town today.
Did you pick up any chicks?
Not yet.
Did anybody wave? Did you get to wave to anybody?
Ah!
Yeah,
I did actually.
do Harley riders wave at Buells?
I don't know. They haven't yet, so.
I've just got this wonderful vision of Bagel riding around on a frigging Buell picking up chicks.
Hey, baby, you want to
This is
ride?
like a Seinfeld episode.
Check out my
Ride on my
hog.
motorbike.
No, and I have to say, you pulled up on that thing, and I was
Yep,
like,
totally.
"Ugh, those are the ugliest bikes ever." And not knowing that the new owner of the bike was standing behind you.
Well, you were quite
Oh,
vocal.
sorry.
Yeah.
You were quite vocal about that, darling. You're just like you blurted it out.
So here's the deal. I do think that they're quite bland in styling. But as I had the opportunity to sit there and kind of really stare at it, I started to appreciate some of the weird things about it. That crazy large rear pulley.
Yeah. With the
And-
belt drive.
The way that those foot pegs mounts come out like giant stirrups from the frame.
Yep.
Yep. I started to get a little more appreciation for it, that it's weird. Because I do appreciate the weird bikes.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
It
And you
is
gotta like
weird.
the
Very
500cc thumper.
Well, and that it's half of a Sportster is kind of weird too.
What year was it? They didn't really make many changes to those things, did they?
No, they didn't make any.
Yeah, this one's a 2002.
Okay.
Which is absolutely, that has got to be one of the last off the line. Because-
So,
No, I
why
think
was it
they
left
made
in the
them
garage?
at least 2004 though, didn't they?
Oh,
forget
no, I
exactly.
think officially they did, but I want to say it was 2003 that they did that disastrous coffee table campaign.
Oh.
And that was pretty much the end.
But I will say, and I was having a conversation with Emma about this, I did come around a bit in that, as I was looking at it, it's like 2002. Are you sure it's not like a 82? Like, one of the things I avoid now, and I recommend people avoid, are bikes of the late 80s into the 90s, because you started getting all this technology. It might have been in the suspension, it might have been in the fuel injection, it might have been, and that technology is at the age now where it's going to start going to crap, right? So in general, like when we say like avoid BMWs of that age, right?
Mhm.
And I'm looking at this bike that's a 2002, but it has it's all everything is mechanical. It doesn't have all
Pretty
those
much.
bells and whistles and technology.
Although,
This is a bike that I think almost anyone can maintain and be a mechanic on. And I think because of Buell's history, it's a future collectible.
yeah, and I would agree with that. The bike is very mechanical, but I will say that one of the technological components on the bike did fail, and I had to replace it, and that was the engine speed sensor. Because I took it out, and Speedo was dead, and read online that was the most likely culprit. Got a new one, popped it in, works good, works like normal now.
So I did kind of come around on that, right, Emma? I was like becoming more and more fond of it as an interesting collectible bike that I think almost anyone can maintain, but still ride often.
You know, I mean, I'm really the wrong person to argue that point with, because as you're well aware, I love everything with two wheels.
Yeah.
Some bikes have got more attributes than others. Some bikes have got more inherent problems with others. But, you know, every single motorbike is special in its own way. You know, cars aren't special. Cars, you know, they're really appliances. And some cars are special. You know, arguably anything that was made in Italy is special. You know, Jags are special. Stuff like this. But all motorbikes, no matter how humble they are interesting and special. So it was an easy sell for me. I think it's great. It was an absolute blast to ride, hence the name.
So I'm curious, Emma, when do you start running out, like, to find parts? Like, when does that, I mean, that's kind of the obvious question, but when is a collectible bike?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's sufficient enthusiasts for it that there are going to be parts available. Inevitably, and it's the same rule with Buells, with vintage Japanese bikes, with vintage European bikes. Generally, mechanically, you're okay. When you start smashing up the bodywork, now you're going to have your work cut out. And unfortunately, like a lot of bikes from that era, it's got a plastic fuel tank, which is great because they don't corrode, but they swell, and I'm sure sooner or later it's going to swell up and plug something or other. It's not going to fit anymore. And then you need to make some tough decisions. But for now, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I remember it was absolutely panned at the time.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you look back at a lot of things historically, some bikes that were really, really hailed as being great back then actually aren't that great right now. And conversely, you know, some bikes that people said are absolutely frigging terrible back then, you revisit them and they're actually quite charming in their own way. And I think the Blast is that bike. It was really quite charming to ride. I had good fun on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've been enjoying it, and like you said, parts are readily available for it. In fact, St. Paul Harley Davidson has a mail order business, and I got everything that I needed from them. And yeah, it's
How were the prices?
they weren't too bad. You know, it was pretty reasonable, I would say.
Well, how much was that speed sensor? You know,
that was about $60.
yeah. So you know, a Suzuki speed sensors, you know, chump change under 100. So yeah, I'd say good American prices.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, there you go. But that wasn't the only new bike at the garage.
No, you did it again, didn't ya?
I done did it again. Yeah, I blame Jim because he's the one.
His fault?
Look, it all happened so fast. Jim says you don't like that bike, you should sell it. Then somehow Mike goes, "Oh, I hear you're selling your bike. I have someone interested." Then I get a phone call from his friend saying, "Hey, I'm interested in your bike. Can I come down right now and look at it?" I'm like, "Whoa!"
Wait. So which bike did you sell?
The CRF 250.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you were pinched. You were upset with me the next day. You were twisted. Like, you didn't sell that bike. I didn't really want to.
I sold you that bike, Liza.
Yeah, you got your commission, didn't you?
No.
Right, exactly.
You gave up one of your children for adoption.
So it just all happened that one of Mike's friends wants to get into dirt biking, and he had the money, and that's a good bike for somebody who wants to get into dirt biking, and he's a smaller guy.
Okay.
So I figured, you know what, great. He'll be able to. I only put 500 miles on it. It just.
You never enjoyed. I never saw you. The closest you got was when you would go into that weird adrenaline trance.
Yeah.
Your eyes were like 1,000 yards there.
I was talking to you about it, right? Like, it really needed to have suspension set up. The bars weren't high enough for me, and I would have had to have put not just risers, but extend some of the cables. If I had invested more money into it and gotten it set up, I probably could have made it great for me. But
yeah, I still think you'd
wasn't
still
right.
be looking for power, though.
So I decided to get another bike, and I was talking about it last week. I was kind of narrowing down what kind of bike, and found one locally. So I came home with another KTM, and this one is a 690 Enduro. But I wanted to take a minute to talk about buying used bikes. We've been through this before, but it never changes. There's always new stuff, and I negotiated the price down a bit, and I was channeling Emma when I did it. But here's the thing. The bike was not as stated in the ad. But I 100% believe that the guy who listed it, believed everything he had on there. And this is the point. You're not always being deceived. Information is not always right. So a couple of things with this. It said in the ad that it was immaculately maintained.
Well, that was a lie.
Yeah. There's a difference between an immaculately clean bike and maintained bike. And what I mean is, I don't believe that the owner of this bike had any mechanical skills. And whenever there was an issue, he just took it into the shop and let them fix stuff.
Well, I think what his idea of immaculately maintained was, it's immaculate because he never laid a finger on it.
Yeah. Well, no, he did. And that, that I will bring up. So by immaculately maintained, it was incorrect. I think he did all the service and did things as he needed, but he didn't know how to check his bike. So a couple things I found. The chain and sprockets are shot. When I went to look at the bike, the chain was so slack. It had like 4 inches of play, right?
Were you able to adjust it at all, or were they just totally buggered?
Well, I adjusted it out, but you can pull the chain off the back of the sprocket quite a good distance, which is a sign that there's too much play and the rollers are all worn out.
Do you know if it was the stock sprocket size?
I don't know.
Okay.
But that's a sign, something that he just didn't check. And also the rear brake was not functioning. And he said, when I said, what would be the next thing you think needs to be done? So this is something I always ask whenever I'm looking at a bike. I ask them, what do you think is the next thing that needs to be done? And this is how you get the more information out of them. He said, the brake doesn't work that great. I think it just needs to be bled or something. Right? So right away, I knew that this bike was not, as stated. So I knew that going in like, who knows what else I'm going to find. Little stuff, but the rear brake, when I got it home, it was stiff. Like you'd push it down and it would stay down. It had not been used. So the master cylinder was just kind of like frozen up. So I flushed it out and got everything moving, and that was great. But then even when I got it all loose and moving, it only has like, Emma, you tried it. I said it only has like 20.
There's nothing. And the big problem with it is there's components that are worn. And,
right.
the rotor itself is toast.
So this is a case where there were new brake pads put on, but not a rotor. And the rotor is worn. I mean, like there's a really pronounced edge to it between the worn and unworn spot. And when you put new brake pads onto an old worn rotor, you're only getting the hills, not the valleys, making contact. So it really only has about 20% right now.
And
would you like to know how to actually check a rotor properly?
Besides a multimeter?
Yes, you need a multimeter and glue. No, in order to check a rotor, so here's a Misfit
how many miles on the bike?
top tip.
20.
Here's a Misfit top tip to check a rotor.
All right, paying attention.
You need a ruler and, either a wooden ruler, but best off is a metal ruler. And what you do is you lay the metal ruler on the rotor, so it's heading out towards the tire, like it's the spoke on a wheel. Yeah. And make sure it's sitting flush on the rotor itself, preferably on the part where the bolts go on. And then if you shine a flashlight underneath it, you can see all the material that's been lost.
Yeah.
And all you do is you double that because it's the same on the other side. And your rear rotor's probably half the width width that it used to be. So it needs a new rotor and it needs chain and sprockets, but I rode it. I mean, it's a good bike.
Right. But the point is, he believed it was very well maintained because he doesn't know how to check those little things.
Right.
And so I wanted to use that as a point that it's not just that people lie, people don't know. Some other things that were left out of the description. So he said he put a undertail, a fender eliminator and LED light kit on, which is cool. But he used a Sawzall to cut off all the mounts for the undertail for the turn signal and the old tail light. And
I've done worse.
It's a hatchet job. So that's like, ooh. Everything else is good on the bike. No big problems. Point being, he didn't mention, like he just completely screwed the pooch on that. Also, it was an out-of-state title. That's another thing that you should list. Full disclosure, he brought the bike from out of state. There are some restrictions when bringing a bike in. This one didn't meet any of those restrictions here in California. I was okay, but if it has low mileage, you can't bring it in. Was it 7,000 miles? What's the
7,500 miles? But you know, I'm with you because people's skill levels and people's cognitive notion of what their bike is varies tremendously, and not everybody can be an expert.
Right.
But I think he was being genuinely a little bit out of order with that title, and I will tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, he didn't mention it.
Right.
And the second thing, you've got to think about the bike. Anytime a license plate goes on a full off-road bike, it's hokey, especially in California. And I believe that he was frightened to start the process, which is why he didn't do it.
Maybe.
Because what you can do is you can sell the bike and say, oh, I've done everything I need to do. Here's the out-of-state title. Here's the notarized blah, 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 blah. But if you start the process and they say, heck no, you can't register that bike here, now you're really up shit creek.
Right. So,
and I think that's why he started the process, didn't follow it through. And that's why I think he was being a little bit, I'm not going to say deceptive, but he was being economical with the truth. And that I don't really agree with.
I'm not sure I agree. He just moved here from out of state, and he doesn't have a garage or carport in his new apartment.
Yeah, but how long did it take you to do it?
The DMV?
Yeah.
Minutes once I got up to the counter.
So therefore, he should have done it and put $1,000 on the value of his bike.
Yeah,
See what I'm
he
saying?
could have changed it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, I mean, that can be an ordeal. Oh, I forgot to mention the other thing. It came with no license plate or a license plate mount because he had cut it off. But he said, oh, I think you just go to the hardware store and get some of those like corner braces, angle iron, and you can mount it up. And I'm like,
I was over at Santa Clara Cycle talking to the guys over there and about, you get the new bike. And I said, in some ways, Liza did everything she always tells people not to do.
Yeah.
The ad was bullshit. Guy didn't really know what he was talking about. Janky title, and you didn't even have a license plate or a place to mount it on.
I know.
That you brought home. But, I've done a couple of bikes with janky titles, and you can get a deal that way. Usually, and you lucked out because the DMV was easy. Usually you pay the price in time. You save $1,000, but it's like 2 trips to the DMV or a hassle or whatever. But you scored. I think it worked out really great.
And that's exactly the point here, because I did that inspection. I realized pretty quickly he didn't really know. So I used that as part of my negotiating. And even though the bike was listed at a very good price, and I acknowledged, I said, hey, I don't want to screw you over. You've listed this as a very good price. It was about $500 to $1,000 less than similar bikes. But I pointed out all these things and I said, so I'm going to offer you less. And he came back with a counter offer, and then I stuck with it. I said, I'm going to stick with my number. And he did the thing where he said, hey, I've got other people who called who are interested in the bike.
Right.
I said, that's great. But here's what's going to happen. Most people are not going to go through all the trouble to get this plated. At the time, when I checked in with the DMV, you have to go to the DMV with out-of-state title. You can't do it through any of the services here. And when you check the website for the DMV or you call the phone number, it says you must have an appointment to come to the DMV. However, we are not issuing any appointments this month. Try back next month. So I actually used that. I said, dude, you get someone to buy this bike and they run into this issue with getting it titled, they're just going to ride it dirty and that's going to be on your name. I'm somebody who, you know, I can't get away with that. I'm not going to screw you over. I'm somebody who people know in the community. I can't do that. So I'm going to have to deal with the DMV and get this done. And that was it. So I used all of those things as negotiating.
Well done, Grasshopper.
And,
You've learned well.
Yeah, so got the price down. I didn't screw them over like Emma would.
That's not true, but I am a tough negotiator.
You are a very tough negotiator.
I'm the kindest person in the world, but here's a few pointers. When a bike is used and somebody's advertising it for a price, that is the price that they think that bike's worth. Now you're going to say, well, what about the Kelly Blue Book? What about the Nada Value? What about this? All these are guides, and it says so right on the cover. It is a guide. There is so many factors involved in buying a used bike. It's like saying, this is how a 30-year-old person should behave. Well, there's a guide as to what 30-year-old people behave like, but we all know there's a huge difference. And so it is with bikes. So what you're going to look at is a bike where the owners pitch the value of it. And because he owns the bike, he's going to pitch that high. So what you need to do is you need to figure out, before you even leave, basically where you want to be with that bike.
Yeah.
Can you go up a little? Yeah, maybe you've got some leeway there. Can you go down a little? Yeah, you've got some leeway there. So you've got an idea, and I guarantee it's going to be a different figure to his.
Yeah, and for me, I got it at a price that I felt was fair enough for me to deal with all these things.
Right, and the
that
truth is, and that's the important thing, as tough a negotiator as I am, and a lot of misfits have been with me when I've been bartering for bikes, and they're like, what the hell? But I would never want to begin a relationship with a bike with the previous owner thinking I'd rip them off.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
You don't want to start a relationship with a bike. And I will say that openly. When I go and look at a bike, they see a harmless looking little old lady, and I say, guy, look, I'm a tough negotiator, and you need to know that before we start. Oh, yeah, sure you are. And then you see the color drain out of their face when I'm done with them. But that's always the caveat for me. I don't want you to, do you feel that I ripped you off with this bike, or do you feel that I negotiated for the best deal? And if they say, no, you're ripping me off, I'll walk away. Because I don't want to start my relationship with my bike like that. And I think with your KTM, Liza, you got it for a great price that you can rectify all the faults with it. You can put a rear rotor on it. You can put a chain and sprocket on it. You can dick around with the DMV and still come in at under $6,000, which is where everybody else is.
Yeah, exactly. So
you did good.
Yeah, I'm happy with it, but I just use that as an example. Not everyone is honest. Not everyone is out to screw you. Sometimes they just don't know. In fact, oftentimes they don't know. So I want to bring up another one. This is a deal that one of our friends of the garage, Tom, reached out to me last night.
Oh, is this Tom Lapham?
Another
Tom?
No, another Tom.
Okay. Very good.
So, you guys who can see...
RZ350.
So it's an RZ350 two-stroke. These things are with a Kenny Roberts signature on it. Jocelyn Snow has one of these in her office, right? Really,
and a cartoon of Kenny Roberts on the front fender, I believe.
These are really cool bikes. These are on a lot of collectors' lists. And this one was posted locally, asking $7,000. Oh yeah, Jim, nice.
And what-
$7,000. And I'll be honest, I haven't researched it. I don't know what the going rate is on one of these.
Oh, that is all the money for an RZ.
Okay. But so he was asking me, what do you think about this? Is it a good deal? There's some flags in this. I'm going to read this description. You guys ding in if you think that there's something you want to comment on or is a flag for you. Okay. So Yamaha, 1984 Yamaha RZ350. Looking to trade for an adventure bike or get 7,000 cash, right? Here's a description. Bike has the conversion to R6 forks wheel brakes and FZR swing arm wheel brakes. Bike is in good condition and has Toomey expansion chambers. It pulls hard when it hits the power band. I got the bike several months ago as a project bike and just got it back together a few weeks ago. So I've only put 50 miles on it. It is an absolute blast to ride, but my days of screaming around on a two-stroke are in the distant past. Oil pump is configured, so no need to pre-mix oil. There are a few things that should be done that I haven't gotten around to, like adding mirrors and putting on front turn signals. The tach works, but is slow to respond and still need to configure a sensor for the speedometer. Also has a brand new chain and a clean California title. So, did any of you get the flags in that description?
Well, I mean, it depends what you're looking for. I'll tell you where I'm at with that bike. First off, it will be an absolute blast to ride because you've got a stout 65 horsepower, 350cc two-stroke twin with braking and handling. So it's going to be an absolute blast to ride. However, the money he is asking would be for a bone stock collector quality RZ. And it ain't. I don't know what to make of it. It's obviously a lovely bike. It needs to be half the amount.
So that's a good point. And so the first flag for me was the conversion to R6 forks, wheels, brakes, and FZR swing arm wheels and brakes. So you've now taken off the stock parts. You've made it worth less. You've made it a better riding bike, but less value.
Does he have the original parts somewhere stashed away? Does it come with the original parts?
Does not mention.
Which means he doesn't. Now, I've got another thing. If you're going to upgrade a bike, at least do some concession to what it was. So if we look at that RZ350, you can see an RZ350 with white wheels. Now, if I built that bike, I'm not saying I'm any better than anybody else, but I'd paint the wheels black and highlight the edges with a polish. So at least you're tipping your hat to the OEM style wheel. Even though they're 17-inch and you've got radials, at least you're kind of looking a bit more like you're being respectful towards the original bike. That just looks like an old bike with modern wheels and forks. Maybe that's what the guy wanted. You know, at least I try and incorporate some of the original design features. Because make no mistake, the RZ350 is an extremely stylish bike. It's everything Yamaha knew about designing bikes in the mid-80s. It's a beautiful bike and very well proportioned.
So, did you guys catch the other red flag in this ad? Nope. So for me, it was, there's just a few things left I haven't gotten around to. That to me is a flag. Why haven't you gotten around to it before you put it up for sale? Is it, you know, it's just simple little things like I just need to put on a sensor for the speedometer and the tachometer is a little slow to respond. Well, Emma, what would cause these problems and how easy is the fix?
Well, strictly speaking, see, I've got a couple of suspicions here. The RZ350 had a weak ECU, and it shares the same ECU as a Banshee, which is a quad, and it's getting harder and harder to find ECUs for RZ350s. So people are putting Banshee ones on. Conversely, people are putting Banshee RZ ECUs on Banshees. There's all this cross-pollination going around. The worst case scenario is this thing's got an ECU from a Banshee, and it'll make the tacho read wrong because it's an electronic tacho on it. The best case scenario is, even though it's electronic, there's still mechanical parts in it. It's an analog gauge with electronic guts, like like a clock with a battery.
Mm-hmm.
It's still analog. It's still got hands, and so it can get a bit gummed up. I mean, after all, it's mid-80s. You're talking about something that's 35 years old. So either way, you need to go in there and figure out what's going on. The harder one is the Speedo, because originally the bike had a speedometer drive on the front wheel, which drove a cable, because the speedometer's mechanical. Now, obviously, he's put an R6 front end on it, and there's no real provision on an R6 to drive that Speedo. So that's going to require a little bit of fabrication and possibly changing the instrument pack, which you don't want to do on an RZ, because it's part of the experience of if you've ever seen the instrument pack on an RZ, it's like in a fighter plane, because you're perched on the thing, and you're in a cockpit because it's got that little bikini on it. And, the instruments have got like gun sights on them. They really went for like the fighter plane look on the dashboard.
So
cool. It's something you really want to keep. But you want it all to be working.
Right.
So it's less than 5 minutes. And even something as benign as the mirrors.
Right.
I'd put money he's got an R6 master cylinder on it,
Mm-hmm.
which has got no provision for a mirror.
Right.
So now what you're going to do, you're going to put some kind of hokey MGO thing that clamps around the handlebar. And then you can't use the OEM mirrors because the Yamaha one is left-hand thread on the right. So, it's all kind of adding up to something that could give you, there you go, look at that cockpit.
Ah, that's cool.
Isn't that
it really
brilliant?
does look like a fighter jet cockpit.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, you want to keep that, Jim, right? You want to keep that look. You don't want some kind of hokey electronic stuff sticking out there.
No, it's a big, huge tachometer right in front of you. Yeah.
That's what you want.
A big, huge tack. And
all these things can be overcome, but you're asking all the money first. If I went to look at that bike, especially if I went to look at it with a friend, I'd say, well, that's fine. Sort out all these things and then we'll talk, or let's get realistic with the price.
So what would you put your value on it? You said about half, right?
I'd piss in the airbox and tell him it's got a rodent problem. I'll give you $300 for it. God, I don't know. I mean, potentially it's got a lot of, it's a lot of fun. I'd need to see the bike.
Okay. Fair enough.
Between 4 and 5.
Perfect. So
I think that's where I'd be comfortable, and that's giving me plenty of meat on the bone to fabricate a Speedo gearbox, to get everything working, to get the mirrors on, to get the wheels done, so everything looks a bit more cohesive, you know, and just make it look like an upgraded RZ rather than the bastard love child of a 2000 Superbike and a 80s smoker.
Well, I found one on Cycle Trader, an 85 for $8,999. And it looks pretty clean. It's got sets of fairings, some upgraded exhaust. The only thing odd is tachometer makes noises, so it's disconnected. Other than that, it seems sorted out.
Yeah, I mean, people ask big money for these. That's way overpriced. 7 is all the money for an RZ.
So my response to him was, I don't think it's a good investment, but if you want a stupid fun bike,
that'll be it.
I believe, like I say, everybody needs to make certain mistakes in life and learn on their own. Everyone needs to make the Ducati mistake. If you haven't done it yet, you will eventually, right? Everyone makes a Ducati mistake.
Probably not.
And I say go for it because some of them are good mistakes. They're fun. You may lose money on the deal, or you may realize this bike really isn't that much fun to ride around. And my neighbors are really pissed off because it's so fucking loud, and I don't have any old friends with classic bikes to ride with. So it sits in the garage, but it's okay because some of these are just fun mistakes to make. So I said, go for it. So, it actually turned out well. So Tom sent me this picture today.
Oh, he bought it. Right on.
All right.
So here's the update.
Congratulations.
So asking $7,000 or trade for an adventure bike. So Tom happened to have a CB500X in his garage because he just bought a new 790 Adventure. And he was going to put it up for sale. And this guy happens to be looking for a mid-size adventure bike. So they did a straight up trade. Both parties were happy.
Nice.
Tom's happy because he doesn't have to deal with selling. Plus, this market is weird right now. We really don't know what things are worth right now. It's crazy. So he got his fun, stupid toy. This guy got a mid-size adventure bike that is perfect, ready to go. Everyone's happy. And I think, Emma, that comes in line, the value of his
I think
500X
that's a
comes in line.
$5,000 bike. And you know what? Here's the deal. It's, I think he got into it for a great price. Honda 500, that's about a $5,000 bike. He wasn't using it, which is great.
I know Tom, podcast guy, and he was done with that CB. He rode the piss out of it. He upgraded the KTM, and he's been sending me notes. He's riding all over the place on that KTM. So now he can get rid of that and have a great, fun project bike. Well done. Have fun.
So so congratulations, Mom. I think that was a deal that did work out. But I just wanted to use that as an example of some of the flags that I see often in ads. In both of these cases, the deal worked out right because everyone was kind of informed, what they're getting into. And in both cases, the bike was traded or sold at less than asking price. So it worked out. So thank you, Emma, for giving us some of your tips on negotiating. Are there any others that you wanted to add?
Well, like I say, you've got to have an idea in your mind about what your budget should be. And a lot of people, when they're in a buying environment or a selling environment, and all the big auction houses know that, it's very, very easy to get whipped up into a frenzy and just go way over. And it's the same when you're looking at a bike. It's not really a selling environment, but this is the bike you've been looking for. Oh God, it's the color I'm looking for. It's perfect. It's the mileage I'm looking for. It's everything. And it's $1,000 more than I can afford. Well, walk away from it because it's $1,000 more. Don't go beyond your budget and what your budget that you had in your mind. What I always do is I'll see a bike like this Trident I just bought, and I'll say to myself, this is what the guy's asking. This is what I want to pay. So I always make sure I've got cash. This was the slight difference between the deal with your KTM and me. I always go with cash. I mean, the $100 bills speak volumes. But I'll make sure that I split up my price from his price. So I'll give you an example. The Trident, he was asking $2,000 for it, which is cheap enough for a Trident. I know he paid more than that for the paint job on the tank, but that was the price. I didn't want to pay that for it. I wanted to pay $1,500. So what I did was I got a wad of $1,500 in cash, and I put it in my left pocket. And then I put the difference in my right pocket. So when he said, well, what are you going to offer for the bike? I can just reach into my left pocket and pull out the wad of cash and say, that is $1,500. And I don't need to count it, and I don't need to pull $500 out of it and say it's $500, because now he knows you've got $2,000. This is the game. You pull out the $1,500. There you go. I've got this here. Well, there's people coming to look at it. I know that, but I'm here. I'm here now, and I've got the cash.
So,
Well, I couldn't let it go for that. Now you start reaching into the right pocket and you start pulling out the hundreds. Will
Right.
1,600 buy it? No. Will 1,700 buy it? No. I tell you what, I know where this is going. If I pull out another $100 and give you $1,800, which will give me a couple of $100 so I can buy the wiring loom and buy the parts for the carbs and blah, blah, blah. That'll take the bike. Yes, it'll take the bike. There you go. That's $1,800. Let's load it up, get it out of here. So that's, it's not a mystery. But the thing is, you've got to be respectful about it. You've got to be respectful to the buyer as well as yourself. Nobody wants to start a relationship thinking that you're gouging somebody to get your bike. Conversely, you don't want to start the relationship thinking you've overpaid either. Do a little bit of research. But remember, when you're buying from an individual, anything can happen.
so I wanted to throw in another thing. So I went to that situation with a disadvantage. I showed up with a trailer. I think we all know.
Yeah.
When you show up with a truck or trailer, they know you're there to buy. I do the same thing. When I see them pull up with a truck, I got the deal. I know.
How far did you drive, Liza, to get it?
Watsonville.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, I understand if you're going like 200 miles at Watsonville. At least at least he knows that you're serious about buying, you know.
But
Right.
here's the thing.
But
I knew I was showing up.
Drive away.
I knew I was showing up with a trailer that looks like I was at a disadvantage, but I purposely went without any cash.
What's
Yeah,
that?
exactly. Well, you know what? It sounds like that's another disadvantage, but it wasn't, because that made him realize I wasn't an eager buyer. I didn't go get cash. When he said, "You got cash?" I said, "No, I don't carry that much cash on me. But, I can do an electronic payment." But, which I did. But that's another just thing. Sometimes, there have been times when I went there with a truck or trailer, park around the corner. It gives you a little more negotiation. Right, Emma?
Right, exactly.
There you go.
It's tough for me because, I'll show up to look at a bike, in an El Camino, and up until recently, he'd had Bozeman Classic Cycle Rescue on the side of it. They know you're going to come home with their bike. It's just, you just got to make sure that you do the best negotiation possible.
Yeah. But in this case,
there's advantages to it. No, there's advantages to them showing up knowing you're a legit, serious buyer.
yeah.
You got to remember, when you're scanning Craigslist, 90% of people won't show up.
Yeah.
And then they won't show up on time. And then they'll show up without money. And then they'll show up and just be crazy bastards.
Right.
So if you see a bike for sale that you want,
they won't have a way to get it back themselves.
Yeah.
Right. So let me tell you, if you see a bike you want to buy and you don't act crazy on the phone and you show up when you say you're going to show up and be respectful, you're light years ahead of 95% of other people, and people are going to treat you better. So, yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was a deal that worked out in both cases, so I'm pretty happy with mine. We'll see. I still got to do some modifications to it, but
No, I think you did great. I really do. I'm looking. I'm on eBay right now, looking for RZ. See if I can find some completed listings. Let's just have a look.
Well,
If I can.
Emma,
Yes.
while you're doing that, I'm going to do something else because guess what?
What?
I got a package in the mail.
What's
And
that?
it's made out to Miss Emma and Liza at the Recycle Garage.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
I know. Should we see what's in it?
I'd love to see what's in it.
It is from let's see. So Luis, Luis,
Louise? Yes.
Luis in Colorado.
Okay.
Cool.
And I don't know what's in here, so let me see. I hope it's
It's a stink bomb.
Oh,
I hope it's a BDR map.
there's
Ooh.
a card. Oh, Luis, what? Oh,
Oh!
What is
it's
this?
a
Mike
model.
Millwood replica.
Oh, yeah, that shit's the dope.
Oh,
That's dope.
wow.
82 MHR.
It's a 132nd
Yes.
Ducati.
That's
Oh,
a steady
man.
bike, too, in
That's a
real life.
proper
Thanks,
Ducati.
dude. And
Oh my God,
and an
Louise.
envelope. This is going up in there. It may say Emma's name on it, but it is going up here in the studio. You don't get to take this one home. And we got a
You, see,
card.
you may be smiling now, Kris. You didn't bring us any gifts.
I'm sorry.
But that's okay. You'll know next time, darling.
Next time I'll bring chocolate.
Oh.
How does that sound?
Oh, that sounds
Yes.
absolutely perfect.
Emma,
oh my
you're gonna
God.
like this.
Sweet.
You're going to like this, Emma.
Yes.
It's a beautiful thank you card.
Oh.
And it says, "Thank you for answering my questions about bearings on your YouTube channel. Stay safe."
Oh, yay.
Oh, you know what? That, Louis.
Yeah.
Well,
cool.
I'm thrilled.
Thank you.
You know, for the next couple of weeks, the YouTube channel's going to be on hiatus because you're going to be messing around in the Breaking Bad RV for a couple of weeks with Jim, aren't you?
I know.
Hey, you've got the Heisenberg bike for it now, right?
Yeah, so thank you. And if you haven't checked it out yet, Emma and I have been doing the Misfits videos, and that was, let's see, we did the tools. Yeah, the last one was, or one of the last ones was on, bearings.
Yeah.
Everything about bearings. And the funny thing is, when I was talking to Emma about the 690 today, I'm like, hey, take it out for a spin. There's something making bad sound in the front end. Might be a bearing. She goes, oh, I taught you we talked all about how to check it. Don't you know? I'm like, yeah, I should pay attention.
That's not how I talk. Blah, blah.
Blah, 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 blah.
100% that's how you talk. What are you talking about?
Blah, blah, blah.
It's mostly that, and then, like, you try to talk normal.
Exactly.
I know. Isn't that awesome? Hey,
So,
yes.
sorry, Liza. No, I was going to talk about riding your bike and how I know it's a great bike. It actually rides very, very well, but no bearing noises on it. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it was the chain, which I already knew was bad. Knock.
Yeah,
Big
what's up?
news. You visited the garage today, man.
I did. I did it by modes of two-wheel transport. I'm back on the bike, baby.
He's back.
Yeah. It was interesting. Actually, I was coming back from an actual ride in the hills. So that was fun.
So you're back in action. You're doing all the things.
I am. I'm also back at work too, fortunately. I think,
Okay.
drugs or whatever. But
What are you eating, Knock?
I'm eating ice cream, sorry.
Did you bring enough for everyone?
No. Of course not.
What flavor is it?
Almond Dream Cappuccino Swirl.
Oh, you rotten
Legendary ice cream.
bastard. How dare you eat stuff like that in front of us? It's not
I
fair.
know, it's not the real deal. But
Okay, very good.
No, it was kind of strange getting back on it because, like, I had to get my street eyes and my street brain. You know what I mean? Like, I was doing things that I normally wouldn't do in high traffic, and I'm just trying to be aware of what I needed to do. Like, you know, sometimes when you run up to an intersection where it just turns green, and like 9 out of 10 times you're usually the first through that intersection. I usually like delay a minute or a few seconds just to make sure that nobody's crossing, you know?
Well, that's good.
And this one time I just kind of went through it like I wasn't even thinking about it, and I was like, oh, and immediately realized what happened. I just like, okay, I gotta fix that again, you know? I was just too excited, I guess, but except for that, yeah.
And we had a little talk about pain management as well, didn't we not?
Yeah, we did. I mean, it's like, it's weird now. Like, I'm deformed, whatever, but like, there's a little base level of pain that I'm having to deal with. Hopefully it'll go away in about a year or so, but yeah. I mean, I imagine there's probably like muscle tissue that's torn and some nerve damage that didn't get picked up that's starting to heal back now. But yeah, but aside from that,
and just
I can do this pretty good, you know. Still sucks though.
Yeah, but the healing process of the bone itself can be painful too. So
yeah.
I mean, the sad reality is that the pain may never go away completely, but it becomes so small, it becomes less a part of your day. Since I wrecked my back, 2 years ago now, and then my shoulder when I smashed up the original Trident, every day I get pain from those two injuries. But you just get so damn used to it, and it becomes really quite small. It doesn't bother you as much.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like I'm not a rubbery kid anymore, you know? I'm a 40-year-old.
Well, no, yeah, exactly.
So
you're a grown-ass man.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. And this is something we've talked about on the show before, but for a lot of people, once you've had an accident, getting back on the bike, you also have a mental kind of wall you have to get through. Have you had to deal with that at all?
Oh, yeah. The first thing I did was a wheelie when I got on the bike. Fucking seriously.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was on the green bike because it's a lot safer to do than on the XR.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I pulled like a, you know, like a little like, okay. But that's what it felt like. Okay, cool. That was like, you know, remember that one time we went to go get breakfast and then, like, I think it was with Doug.
Oh, yeah.
We were by the police station. I dumped the wheelie there.
Yeah.
Avoid Doug. And then, like, after we had breakfast, I did another wheelie. It was part of the mental state that I have to, like, it's like the hair of the dog kind of a thing. It's really dumb. But I guess that's how you do it, I guess. That's how I do it, because I'm an idiot, but whatever.
I get you.
You've got ice cream.
Yeah.
We haven't.
Yeah. Ice cream helps, I'll tell you what.
Got calcium in it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So other than that, you're like, are you gun shy at all? Are you
No, not really.
back?
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh,
I'm good.
So
Yeah.
you're an idiot.
Yeah, basically.
Massively. I never claimed that I wasn't. Sometimes I pretend like I know what I'm talking about, but ha-ha!
Back in action.
Well, good. I'm glad that you are back and you're feeling.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're still an idiot. So somehow that makes me feel good because at least you're consistent.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, what am I going to do? Not do wheelies and do silly stuff on motorcycles, man? Come on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Public naked,
For a while at least.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
I mean, 3 months was a while, wasn't it? In recovery.
you weren't riding a fucking motorcycle. So, you know, I mean, the first time you go out on a bike, you're pulling wheelies. Now, come along now.
Nah, that's all right.
I mean, I'm as bad. You know, my last frigging Trident tried to kill me, so I got to buy another one.
Yeah, well, there you go. See, it's like,
You know, it's going to be different this time. It is going to be different this time. This one's not going to kill me. Or try to.
I'll tell you what. I mean, like, I don't do my dumb stuff willy-nilly now. I really have to.
What? What the hell is this dumb stuff?
I really have to think about it. Like, you know.
Knock, your internet's having issues right now.
Yeah, my phone's getting warm.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you need to, I think, run it under cold water or something.
Yeah, I might have to go after this, let it cool down, and sign back on.
Stick the ice cream on it.
There you go.
Melt the ice cream.
Well, congratulations. I'm glad you're
Thank
back.
you.
And it was nice to have you back at the garage day.
It was really good to see everybody. I was a lot more busy than I expected it.
Yeah,
And,
you can't keep talking. You sound like a bad robot.
Okay.
So yeah, cool that thing down.
Okay, I'll be back in a bit.
Okay, cool. While he's gone, I wanted to talk about Southern Utah.
All right, is it better
Jim.
now?
Oh,
I
yeah.
turned off the video. Okay, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just, yeah, no, it was cool to see everybody back at the garage, and I got the vibes back again. You know what I mean? It was like, cool, Sunday hanging out with the crew, even though it was like half is what it would normally be, or even a quarter. It was cool just shooting the shit with everybody and just, talking about what's going on. So it was fun.
Awesome. Yeah, it was a good day. It's kind of like every week we get a few more people coming by, and then we start getting visitors like Jordan and Kris, and it's starting to feel a little more normal, though we're still being good about following rules and such, and still have a lot of, concerns about COVID, but I think there's a balance. There's a way to do this and be safe.
We're
Yeah,
managing
I
it.
mean, what's wild about this whole situation is talking about the run of situation is like after 4th of July, it's like a light switch went off, and everybody just said, "Fuck it, we're just doing outdoor things now." It was really good.
Yeah, and people are getting sick left and right.
Oh yeah,
I went for a real long ride yesterday. I was going for like 8 hours or so. Went all the way down to Big Sur and then back up in the mountains up Nacimiento.
nice.
And the top of Nacimiento is where you can take the Summit Ridge, that dirt road, fire road, to some of the most beautiful camping in California. So I went a little bit ways back there with a friend to have a picnic, and I couldn't believe the amount of cars on that Summit Road off of Nacimiento, Ferguson. There was at least a car every 10 minutes, and there's days I don't see anybody up there. It was a trip. So yeah, people are definitely out.
Nice. Hey, I got news.
What you
I have
got?
somebody who reached out to me about my Versus that I listed for sale. Who wants to
really?
What?
So we'll see. I get to
Are
play
you joining a cult? Are you selling all your bikes and joining a cult? Is that
the
what's happening?
negotiation game. No, I'll tell you what's going on with that. So I had another Twisted Road rental last week, and the bike did great. And actually, this one worked out because he had another rental in place that when he arrived, the bike had threads showing on the tire.
Oh, dude.
Had not
No.
really checked the bike.
That's not cool.
So I got a short notification of, hey, we need a bike right now. We're supposed to be going down south and riding. Is yours available? I'm like, it's available. I just had everything serviced on it. It's got new tires. It's got all the things. It's ready to go. So he came, picked it up, took off, rode it, had a great time, brought it back. And when I was doing an inspection and just kind of cleaning it, I realized how much rust is on it, and it's the painted metal. So it's the mirror stems, it's the crash bars, it's the front of the frame behind the cooler.
Yep.
I'm like, oh God, this thing went from having a couple spots to like looking bad.
Yeah, everything that gets that sandblasted while you're riding.
It's the
Yeah.
classic coastal California bike.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I decided, this is going to get uglier fast. So while everything is in pretty decent shape, I should sell it to someone. And also, since it's all mechanically sound, I have no problem selling it to any rider, knowing that they're getting a decent, ready to go, maintained bike.
How many miles are on that thing?
Spray some bed liner on it.
I
Call
think
it good.
22.
Oh God,
That's
yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, for what you're asking, you're not going to get a more capable bike for less money.
Yeah.
No, and that's why I've kept it around, because it kills me that it's not worth that much. I listed it for $2,800. That's
Wow.
because that's what Versys are. They're going for, like, at the high end 35, at the low end 25, like 25 to 35. dealerships are selling them, used for $35, but they got to make a little money on it.
So here's what Kawasaki's really good at, is they're good at making UJMs and making a lot of them. And that's why they don't go for very much,
Yeah. So it's not worth that much for what you're getting, but I figured too, the bike is sitting here and it's just starting to rust away, and it'd be much better at that price for somebody who has one bike and they're using it as a daily commuter.
Right.
And this is a good bike for that. I'd rather
It's just it's a really capable bike. I mean, you could, strictly speaking, I guess you could buy yourself a Jigsaw for that kind of money, but you wouldn't want to ride it any kind of distance. You'd probably need to do a ton to it. This is a bike, theoretically, you could buy and ride across the country for $2,800. You can't go wrong.
Yeah.
All right, I have an update.
Sold.
To my Versus deal.
Oh.
So I thought everything was looking good. We've got a time scheduled this week for him to come, but he just said, does it come with a helmet? I don't have one.
Well, thankfully, you've got a room full of helmets.
Actually, not really. I've thrown most of them away because they were all so old. Anyway, I'll deal with him. But it's like, uh-oh. That's not so. You don't show up to buy a bike without a helmet because you don't get to test ride it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Just bring cash, darling.
Yes.
Bring cash.
Bring cash. Bring plenty. I'll sell you a helmet. Some quick announcements. So, I've completely run out of the shirts that were part of the Patreon supporters shirts. For $5 or more, you get a shirt. I ordered more. So knock, I got some coming in your size. If you can get one if you want.
Yeah, you got the chunky boy sizes. Hell yeah.
Well, I was going to say, if you keep packing that ice cream on knock, you're going to need a bigger damn shirt.
So I got more shirts coming. So I will still be supporting the Patreon. For $5 or more a month, you will get a free shirt. Or if you want to buy one, they're $20. Reach out to me, recyclemotorcyclegarage@gmail.com, and I can tell you how much shipping would be and send it out. So they'll be here in a couple of weeks. Let's see. Oh, Jim, are you still there? He's muted. He'll be coming back. So Jim and I are leaving on our trip in a couple days. And getting so stoked. Much like Jordan and Kris, who are traveling in a COVID-safe vehicle where you've got your home on the truck with your dogs and everything, so you can be independent and avoid a lot of these places. And you got dirt bikes too. You're doing it right, you guys.
Yeah, that's this is week number 6.
Dang.
We've been all over Eastern Oregon, Southern Idaho, Montana, Northern Idaho, and now California. Just had some really awesome riding in the Sierras. Checked out Hollister after you guys have talked about it on the show for a while, and it's been great. I've gotten my skills up a lot, and Kris has gotten her skills up a lot too. And
yeah, this is my first. I haven't ridden dirt ever. This is like my actual first moto trip, aside from Jordan leading it. Because we went through Mexico together, and I was passenger through Mexico through the Yucatan. So this is the first time I'm on a bike, riding trails, getting my ass kicked. It's awesome. Really hard, but it's super fucking fun. I'm really, really stoked about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude.
Excellent.
Oh yeah.
And how long are you guys going to be traveling?
We've got about three weeks left. I start a grad program August 3rd, so we've got until a little bit before August 3rd, and then we'll be settling into LeGrand.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Y'all are living the dream, I tell you.
Yeah, well, we were sizing everything up, and Kris, we were pretty sure was gonna get laid off, and I had to quit my job to go to school, and we started kind of connecting the dots. I got the truck for a killer deal, and then the camper came along. The camper was free, and did some work on it and got them ready. And I bought Kris's trail bike just before we left for $200. Got it.
Nice,
sweet,
nice. And yeah, it's been awesome. Bike's haven't missed a beat. And, we've, it's been really fun. We've gotten to ride a lot of different terrain, everything from 8,000 feet under the Tetons to desert riding to woods to, it's just been awesome.
Yeah.
And I have to say, this is my first, with that much terrain with the WR, and it just eats everything up. This is such an amazing cross-country machine.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's been
And, I've got to say, you both arrived on it, which is the coolest thing ever. When you have two people on a serious off-road bike.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I couldn't figure out what it was at first. I mean, I knew it was a WR, but I thought, no, wait a minute. It's got a license plate, but God, it looks burly for a 250, because it is.
It is. It's a big bike. I'll say, it's a plated, and that's a great amendum to what we were talking about earlier. I'd just say really do your homework, because this bike actually came from California with a plate, but it's extremely unusual to find a plated WR450.
Right.
But if you kind of do your homework about what states title what and what, because like what Liza was talking about with the titling stuff, a bike in Washington, if you live in Oregon, a bike that has a dirt bike with a plate from Washington or Idaho, those don't transfer over to Oregon. And the only way you would know that is by doing your homework. So, when you go in to buy those kind of bikes, you really have to do your homework on that stuff. I did, and I fought about 9 people. The guy said there were about 9 people waiting, and I definitely gave him his asking price, because it's very hard to find one that's in Oregon. We have ones that are grandfathered in, and this was the last year. So it is really nice. It is the app. I've had XRs, DRs, I've ridden KLRs, I've ridden Katos, the 450 and the 500, and it is just it's a shame that Yamaha doesn't put out this bike as a dual sport, because it's awesome. Other than the gearbox being it's a wide ratio, but it's a little short, so it's a little tough with road work. You have to gear it up. It is just the complete package. It's got power. It's got long-ish maintenance intervals. Valves have not moved at all, and it's just awesome. I've taken it to Baja it was about a 1,300-mile trip, and I've taken it all over Oregon, and then it does single track the next weekend. So it's just such a cool bike.
Yeah, we need more of those.
Yeah, so you guys are doing it right. Jim and I are going to be heading out, and Jim is actually one of the best partners to do a trip like this. He's so meticulous. He's been making all the lists, and he's bringing all the tools, bringing all the stuff. In fact, when we talk about negotiations, Jim and I already had a negotiation, and I think I got the better part of the deal. I'll tell you what it is. Jim is going to be cooking all the food. And he says, I eat like shit all the time. And so I said, tell you what, I will only eat what you put in front of me. You get to decide what I eat and drink this whole trip.
That's a good
So
deal.
it's all shrimp. It's a shrimp bonanza. And meat on a stick.
But he's going to do all the cooking. So I'm like, okay. Then I also threw into the negotiation that I get to control the radio and media the whole time.
Oh, boy.
But he gets to at any time say, please stop singing.
Smart man.
I think that sounds fair.
Like this is like you need almost like a platonic prenup kind of a contract situation.
I mean, me and Jordan have the same agreement. Jordan cooks everything. I eat like a damn queen on this whole trip. And it's lovely. And all I have to do is the dishes, and it's great. I'll do the dishes all day long. Yeah. We've had everything from like lamb steak, the shishito peppers. I don't know. Just shishito peppers is all it is. Yeah, I don't know.
Those are awesome.
Lots of steak.
They're so good. Lots of steak. Some like amazing burgers that you've made.
Yep.
Oh, we had ribs the other night.
Yeah.
Jordan made ribs.
Ooh,
I like to cook.
Yeah.
nice.
Southern. Yeah, it's great. So you got the better end of the deal, Liza.
Yeah.
See?
And that's not fair, Kris, because you're tiny. And I mean, just listening to that menu, I think I put on about 5 pounds. You know, if I was traveling across country with Jordan, I'd be the size of a house. You wouldn't need an RV because I'd be the RV. How do you do it?
One of my favorite moto camping tricks is when we roll through a town. You know, everyone kind of like, I've ridden with people who bring MREs or they bring, you know, canned food or whatever, and everyone's getting to the campsite eating their cold can of chili, and I just pull out a ribeye steak that I bought at the last town, and I'm like making it with potatoes and stuff. I was like, what the hell, where'd you get that? I was like, well, you know, if you plan ahead, you can eat pretty well on the road.
And all you got to do is ride hard. To keep it off.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
Yeah, work off the calories. So.
Work it out.
Yeah, you never have to eat bad on a trip. You just got to get creative.
Well, I'm not sure whether Liza knows what she's in for because she's going on a multi-day trip with a Scotsman. So at some stage, you're going to be eating haggis with tatties and peas.
But I also threw into the negotiation because he said, you know, you can't drink any soda on the trip. I said, okay, but you know, you can't drink any beer on the trip.
Oh. That's all right. He's already moved on to hard liquor.
Yeah, I was going to say he's going to be on the hard stuff.
But here's the thing. He's so good. He's like got all the tools, everything we need. He's got all the kitchen, all the food, everything we need. I'm now at the point where I'm walking around like, check Rubik's Cube. Should I bring the Rubik's Cube? Oh, Evil Knievel toys. I should. My metal detector. We should bring a metal detector. Like, I'm just like going around like, what else do I want to bring?
Karaoke machine, obviously.
Oh, no. Oh, the little one. Good call, Knock.
Yeah.
Good call. I always travel.
I know what's good. I know what's good.
Yeah,
so
so
like, when are you leaving? Sorry, when are you leaving?
Thursday morning.
Oh, shit. Okay, so I got to get that stuff from you. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and we're getting excited. So we decided to take a couple days in southern Utah. And I've mentioned that's where I'm from, where my family is from. And I've spent many summers there with family. And there's a lot of these really cool places out in the desert I've seen from the backseat of a car, you know, my grandma's car, my parents' car, like dinosaur tracks or Gooseberry Mesa or just all these really cool things. There's a ghost town, Grafton ghost town, places I visit. But now that we have dirt bikes, we can leave the trailer at the main highway and go ride into the desert and go see a lot of these really cool things that are just so cool. I mean, there's the formations there and the views, and I'm so stoked. So we're actually talking about spending a couple days re-exploring all these places I've grown up visiting in the backseat of a car,
right,
on dirt bikes.
Hey, I've got a question for you, Liza.
Mm-hmm.
Are you taking means of carrying fuel? Are you taking spare fuel cans?
We're taking a spare fuel can, yeah.
Okay.
But I have my KLR, which can go a long distance.
Yeah, you're still going to take the KLR. You're not going to take the new one.
Oh, no, I'm not going to take the new one. No.
Yeah, I think you'd need a new chain and sprocket if you did.
And dirt tires and all that.
Yeah, and.
No. I'm taking the KLR. The KLR works great. Will be great for this kind of stuff. But Jim has been getting into it and going onto the maps and discovering stuff. And I'll show him Grandma's volcano and Molly's nipple. It's a thing. Look it up.
Are you going to hit the Burr Trail?
I don't know the Burr Trail. Where's the Burr Trail?
Burr Trail is like 30 miles of dirt gravel road with downhill switchbacks and washboard surfaces going down into a canyon.
Where?
On your way to Lake Havasu.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that Arizona or Nevada?
It's not Havasu. Lake Powell.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hadn't looked into that, but I'll tell you another place I'm excited to go to.
Oh, yeah?
We passed it when I was on the Whirr ride, and I had never been there, and I saw it as we went by, but I was leading a large group, and I couldn't stop. But I saw the birthplace of my first cousin 3 times removed.
Oh, really?
Wow.
In Circleville, Utah.
Mm-hmm.
The home of Butch Cassidy.
Cool.
There you go.
You know, it's funny you should mention that, Liza, because whenever I'm down in Long Beach and I'm on the Queen Mary, I always look for my long-lost relatives, but they're never there.
You mean the ghosts?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. I always look for my long lost relatives, but yes, we always fall short.
So there's one more thing I wanted to talk about. Another announcement. Hey, reminder: the Black Hills Moto Film Festival. It's a thing. We released a new trailer. I've been making these trailers that are teasers with a lot of the films that are going to be featured. We have such an amazing selection across the board. So check out on our Recycle Santa Cruz, the Facebook page. I put out a new trailer. And if you want to get your free tickets, that's right, free tickets, go to revsisters.com, REVSISTERS, revsisters.com. You have to reserve a ticket because we are going to be posting this up on YouTube, and we can't just take other people's films and make them free on YouTube. So we can if there is kind of a paywall. Even though it's free, you have to be registered to get the code to get access. But I wanted to take a second to talk about another one of the films that's going to be featured. Remember last week we talked about the Penton story? And I think a couple of weeks before that we talked about the Rebel Riders, the Indonesian scooter guys.
Mhm.
Well, there's another film called Scootistan
Indeed.
that features
Moi.
the sobbing scooterist himself, Bagel.
The Bagel.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
You made it, son! You made it!
Yep. This is the movie that we made on our trip to riding scooters through the north of Pakistan, 2,000 kilometers in September of 2016. And it was a wonderful time, and I think the film really captures the spirit of our trip, and I hope you all get to see it and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's not a long film. It's one of the shorter films.
Yeah,
You guys
13
did,
minutes.
yeah, great job. And it's the same areas that I go in Pakistan, which is so funny to see some of the scenes. And in the trailer I showed,
Yep.
I can't believe you guys took all of your scooters into your hotel rooms. And there's a shot of you all riding
Yes.
out of your doorways rooms
Yep.
into the hallway and riding out
Yeah,
down the hallway.
that was Moeen's idea. He wanted to throw that into the film, and we loved it. We totally went with it. It was brilliant, and
that
it was
was
hilarious.
the one in Naran, I think.
Yes, it was
Yeah, I know
Naran.
that hotel.
Yep.
That was so funny.
Yeah, riding across the marble floors.
And you have like the manager come out, like, what's going on?
Like shaking his head, like,
Looks like a Monty Python skit or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
fun time.
Bagel, I hope your scooter friends don't find out you've been riding a motorbike.
Oh, they'll get over it.
But yeah,
Well,
you guys
I
were
hope so.
riding, these are like 50s, like 1950s Vespas, right?
60s and 70s. Yeah.
Yeah, so these are old, and you're
Yeah.
riding through like rivers and stuff.
We rode them across the DSI plains
I know.
with baby head rocks.
Baby
you know?
head rocks.
Yes.
Nice.
I
And we made it
know.
all the way.
And we're not talking like a short, it's like, it takes like a full day.
Oh yeah.
across
Oh, is it?
DSI.
The total full day, and I lost my license plate on that leg. As a matter of fact, it just disappeared at some point. But we made it across.
And you get to see the famous story we often tell about the concrete truck that broke the bridge
Yes.
and was hanging off, but they still had to get across, and they carried the scooters across the bridge with
Yep.
the dangling concrete truck in the
Yeah.
water.
With the help of some locals to help us get across, but we made it.
Yeah. So I'm so
Super
glad to
real.
have you in there. What were some of the other stories? I want to get people excited about this film. What are some of the other things that are featured in the film?
Let's see. Well, we rode all the way to the top of the Karakoram Highway to Hunjarab Pass, which is
Right.
16,000 plus feet. And yeah,
Okay, hold on. I have a question.
yeah,
'Cause it's been a while since we talked about this, so I forget.
yes.
Did you have to rejet the carbs on those things?
Well, I brought jets.
Aha!
Because I knew that we were going up way up in the altitudes, and two strokes just do not like altitude changes, and you have to bring extra jets to compensate. Well, our mechanic, Gudu, when I presented him with the jets, and when I first got there, said, "Hey, look, I brought jets for the altitude," and he just kind of looked at me and was like, "No, we don't need those." I'm like, what? 16,000 feet? How the bike's going to run? It's like, it's okay. And I don't know how he did it, but somehow he managed to make these bikes run at various altitudes, supposedly without changing jets out.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did it.
They did the same to me on the bikes both years I've ridden on the Hondas. And I'm like, can we rejet? Can we do something? Can I pull the filter? And they're like, no.
A modern bike probably has a carburetor that's able to compensate for the altitude.
No, you go 7 miles an hour up that mountain.
No, wow. I mean, higher you go, there's less air.
Yeah.
Basically, your bike's running fast. What you have to do is introduce more air into it. So the jets for an altitude jets are smaller.
Yeah.
To compensate. So if he didn't change jets, you know, the tricks you take is you take the lid off the airbox, you take the trunk off the airbox, stuff like this just to get more air into the engine because there's so much less of it around. You know, I famously drove a big block Suburban over a 12,000-foot pass. And, you know, halfway up, I just chucked the air cleaner away completely.
Did you say big blocks of bourbon?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I got that thing up like 12,000 feet, and it was like, it was like running with the choke on.
But Emma, I thought you were in a gin, not bourbon.
Oh, yes. Suburban. Right.
Oh, suburban. I heard big blocks of bourbon.
I've got to put my speaking teeth in. But yeah, you see, so that's probably what he did, was just, you know, dicked around with the airbox.
Well, that's what a possibility, but the airboxes were on there, and they're fairly simple on Vespas. You know, I don't think.
Did he mess with the carburetor at all?
I think he did.
He probably dropped the needle.
There's no needle. These are slide carbs. They're downdraft slide carbs.
He diddled it like Emma does.
Yeah, he diddled it.
He diddled it.
Well, he definitely did some diddling, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, and Bagel, there was another thing I saw in the movie. There was a moment where I think somebody said, I thought these bikes were supposed to be set up and ready to go.
Yeah, Brooke thought that these bikes were all like factory refurbished, I guess, and that they're like back to 100%, original. No, they were fixed up and they were rideable, but there were, little things that they needed. The thing that we found out was when we first got there, they had just been rebuilt and had not been broken in. so we were breaking them in as we were going on the trip. These are two strokes.
Did you suffer any seizures, darling?
We had a couple of just like little soft seizes on the very first day when we were riding around in Islamabad where it was pretty hot.
Okay, wait. What is a soft seize?
So a soft seize is when the piston starts to heat up too much and basically expands so that it sticks inside the bore, but it does it in a way that is low speed and relatively low temperature so that it doesn't actually score the piston or the bore. And if you just let it cool down, it contracts and you can just kick it out and start riding again. It's basically a very minor seize as opposed to a true heat seize where you're melding dissimilar metals in a very, very close space.
Well, there you go. Congratulations on making it. And full disclosure, I did not choose which films made it.
Oh, really?
But
who did?
Heterosexual made it in. Yay!
Awesome.
Actually, I'm in 2 of the films.
Oh, wow.
A brief appearance in 2 of the films, but no, my partner Michelle, she's the one who chose it. So my 2 partners and I we each get a turn hosting the film festival that we help each other on, but when it's your turn, you get to make the decision. So for the Santa Cruz one, I was choosing films that I thought fit our community here. And with the Black Hills Moto Film Festival, she got to choose. So it was cool that she chose Scootistan.
Very cool. Well, very cool. Many thanks for choosing our film. It's much appreciated.
No problem. So just remember, go to revsisters.com and get your free tickets. I got time to do some emails. And we got some good emails here. Emma, I think you're gonna like this one.
Oh, really?
If I
I'll
say
be
the
judge
name
of that.
GG Wolverines, do you know who I'm talking about?
GG Wolverines?
GG Wolverines. No?
No.
Nope.
Okay, well, maybe you'll remember. This is Gary. He says, hey, Liza, I just wanted to say thank you for your podcast and videos. I'm an adult onset rider. I've been riding only for about 13 months, but listening to your podcast for about 15.
Okay.
I just wanted to let you know that because of you all, I am inspired to work on my own motorcycle and join the Ask Miss Emma level of Patreon in case I screw something up. Today, I successfully changed the oil in my bike for the first time. I know for you all, it's probably a small thing to celebrate, but it is the first thing I've done on my own. I would not have attempted it had I never found your podcast. Thanks for everything you do. I love that email on so many levels.
Oh, God, yeah. It's great.
That's awesome.
I remember, my first oil, and as I shared the story of the KZ400 and why I got it when I was riding one when I was 22, and I met a guy who helped me out and showed me how to change oil and to do all the stuff, and how much that meant to me and how cool it was to be able to do these things. It set me, up in motion to be able to do more and to try more and to learn more, which ultimately got me here where I am today. So congratulations.
Yes, I remember when I was an embryo mechanic, and we had to change the steam, We had to change the steam in the locomobiles.
Did you have to stoke the fire?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, stoke the fire. And then I graduated to become a Zeppelin mechanic.
Oh, all right. So I got another one, and this is another good one.
Do you think Zeppelins had mechanics? I'm sure they did.
Oh,
yes, because they were quite high maintenance.
Oh, yeah.
No, I wonder if it's something you went to school.
They kept dying from the mercury poisoning, I think.
Probably.
I believe they had BMW engines, so of course they did.
Oh, God.
Yes, BMW Jumos.
This one is from Mike from South Carolina.
Mikey!
Or Southern California. It's SC. I'm going to go with South Carolina.
I
It
think
says,
South Carolina.
Dear Misfits, I wanted to thank you for the advice you gave me on my motorcycle I emailed about several weeks ago. Just to refresh your memories, I have a CX500 with a valve adjustment screw that vanished down an oil return.
Oh, yes,
Oh, yeah.
that's right, yeah.
Honestly, the thought, I'll just throw oil in it and ride it anyway, crossed my mind. But I thought it was too stupid to put it in an email to you, only for Miss Emma to immediately suggest it. Nice to know that I'm at least as dumb as she is. Long story short, I've gotten a couple hours of riding it and nothing has detonated so far. The reason it took so damn long was since my local shop was shut when I wrote you, so I ordered from a big dealership online, I spent over a month waiting on a new screw and lock nut. I finally canceled my order with the online shop and got it through the now open local dealership. Thanks again. I loved all the advice and implemented all of the serious suggestions. The magnet fits rather snugly onto the crankcase. Since I needed to re-register my bike locally, I honestly spent some time trying to figure out how to get a plastic magnet vanity plate, but couldn't work out the lettering. Let's see. Forgot to tell Knock to get better. He says, forgot to tell Knock to get better in my original email, but now that he's been unfucked, so fuck you, Knock.
Perfect.
No,
Perfect.
I think
That's from Mike.
I think that's a good result, Mike. I mean, it's it adds to the spice of riding.
That might detonate anytime.
Yes. No, I think especially if you've got a magnet underneath, that it'll. And one day, in the future, you may be draining the oil and it may just go up and fall out the bottom.
Or it may never appear again.
True.
And just may live down in there somewhere.
Or maybe stuck.
Well, I mean, worst case scenario, if it went down an oil return, it might be stuck in there and somewhat constricting the oil flow, though, right?
Oh, you'll know that.
Well, it'd have to go through the oil pump first, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. As long as it's not going to the oil intake to the pump.
Right.
That could be bad.
All right, I got time for one more, and this one is from Andrew.
Hello,
And
Andrew.
He says, new writer here. I've been writing for 10 months. I recently discovered your podcast, and I'm really enjoying listening to your take on all sorts of motorcycle history, culture, and skills. You really inspire me. I recently changed my battery. Yes, I know it's easy. In my Honda Shadow Ace Deluxe 750, and it felt awesome to do it myself. Thanks so much for all you do. Looking forward to hearing more from you. And my brother lives in Seaside, so maybe I will come out for a visit sometime.
Hey.
Oh, fantastic.
And yes, once again, that is something simple, but, you know, it feels so good to be able to do it yourself.
Yep.
It feels good until you break a bolt.
That's right.
That's probably the next level of mechanic, right? You break a bolt, now you got to deal with that.
Right.
Well, the good thing with batteries is they usually only have like 2, 3, 4 bolts tops. So your chances of breaking a bolt are pretty slim there.
Yeah, but you can connect them up backwards, and that causes all kinds of mayhem.
Yes, you don't want to release the magic smoke.
And
However,
like I did today.
oh
you
God,
did?
yeah, trying to set your.
It's amazing how much smoke can come out of a little reg wreck.
What did you do?
We don't know.
Oh.
No, I mean I've had
I missed
chicks
this.
show up at work with the reg wrecks on fire.
I watched this happen from the back, and I was like, wow, they work on motorcycles here, and they do magic tricks. I saw behind a big old cloud of smoke comes up. I was looking for the pigeons above her and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought you threw a popper inside the cage.
I know, right?
Like, and set it off. Like, oh, someone's messing with Liza right now. But no.
Waiting for the genie to appear.
No, on the
Are you sure it wasn't those firecrackers you were throwing around today, Liza?
No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it was scary. Actually, I was scared. I was whacking it with a screwdriver.
Oh, no.
So on the KC400. So here's the issue on the KC400. It's now the second new battery that I put in, tested everything. Everything worked good, horn, turn signals, everything. The next morning, battery is down to 0.
Now you know why they sold the bike.
Well, now I know why it was put into storage for so long.
Right, exactly.
And so I wasn't sure what was wrong. And Emma said, well, it's probably the reg wreck, right?
Right. Because it's bleeding down. You see, what
Mhm.
you've got to figure out is what is connected when the ignition switch is off. And really, the only thing that's connected on the battery to the battery when the ignition switch is off is the charging system. And so 9 times out of 10, it's bleeding down through that.
So I went through our box of miscellaneous electrical stuff, and I found
We found something similar.
Japanese reg wreck with all the wires coming off. So the good news is the colors of the wires all matched. The bad news is the connectors were different sizes. So I had to cut the connectors off the old one and solder everything together.
Did a good job.
Matching connectors. And I went over to the bike, and there's 3 yellows, a black, and a white. Okay. So I hooked up the black, and then I hooked up the white, and then all hell broke loose.
Oh, no.
That white wire.
And it started sizzling and arcing and smoking and melting. And I knew I had to get it disconnected. So I just picked up a screwdriver and started whacking it. And the wire melted, the solder that I just put on,
Yeah.
and it broke loose.
Yep.
So it stopped then. But
Yikes.
I was just like, ah!
Yeah, that sounds like a case where you have 2 different devices that are speaking with different color languages as far as their wires go.
Maybe, or we don't know if that was a bad reg wreck thrown
Or
into the
that's-
box.
that's
It might have been a
possible,
bad
too.
one.
But you
Yeah.
know, this is a very, very valid point, and I will be brief because now we're getting short of time. But when we're dealing with bikes like that KZ400 now, these are survivor bikes. And a lot of times they've been put away in a garage for a long, long time. In the KZ's case, nearly 30 years, right, Liza?
Yeah, exactly.
And we all want to be romantic about it and say, well, the guy got too old to ride it, or, you know, there was this or there's this. But the fact of the matter is, the bike may have broken down 30 years ago, or they figured out what was wrong with it and just didn't want to pay for it and stuck it in the barn. And I have come across this so many times. You put
pull a bike out of long-term storage, and not only do you have to resurrect it so it can be ridden, now you find out why it went into the damn barn in the first place. And you can't really grumble because there's so few of these things left. The fact of the matter is, if that KZ400 would have had a normal life, it would have been in the wrecking yard 30 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. Because of that, it survived.
So we need to fix the problem. I've had it even on very, very low mileage bikes. I famously restored an electric start Triumph for the Jameson Museum. Really low mileage bike. It was, I think, 2,000 miles. And I got it running, did all the work on the carburetors, cleaned it up. It looked absolutely beautiful. Took it for a ride. 10 minutes later, it started blowing fuses in a big way. And so I found out why it had got an aftermarket fuse holder on it. Cut a long story short, the main wiring harness was chafing against the battery case.
Oof.
It was a hell of a thing to find, but
Yeah.
that's why the bike went off the road in the mid-'80s, which is why in 2010 we were able to find an 83 Triumph with only 2,000 miles on it, because some clown in the factory, stuffed the harness too close to the battery box. This is the fact of, old bikes.
Well, and if you recall, we had a clue in that there was a second ground wire
Yeah, so
put onto this bike.
something hoky's been going on with
Somebody
it.
was trying something.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll just have to find another one and try again. But
And find the right one, yeah.
yeah, try and find the right one. And this is why I was asking Emma, is it better to find an old original one that may or may not be good, or to find something new that...
I think OEM.
Yeah.
OEM, because, if we can find something of a similar quality, that's the way to go. Who was that last email from, darling? What was that young man's name?
That one from Andrew?
Andrew. And Andrew has a brother in Seaside.
Yes.
You know what else is in Seaside?
Oh boy, here we
Let's
go.
hear it.
There it is.
Yes, that's Seaside Superbikes. If you've got a superbike and you live in Seaside, go to Seaside Superbikes. Yes, that's Seaside Superbikes for all your superbike needs in Seaside.
There you
Cha-ching.
go. Every time I do cha-ching, I'm putting that on the tab that you guys
Yes, I know.
the free advertising.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll
Well,
be in
no,
touch
I
with
work there. What more advertising do you need?
Exactly.
You'll be in
Well,
touch with their VP of marketing.
Exactly.
So this is going to be my last podcast for a bit because Jim and I will be heading off. Emma, you'll be running everything. Knock, you're going to be handling all the logistics on the podcast. Thank you.
I think so. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll make it work. And hopefully we'll be able to join you guys from the road and give a report.
Yeah.
I think at least when we're in South Dakota, we should be able to join in and give a report on everything there. I know Jim has this idea of heading off to the mountains and being naked in a river and being a man. I don't know how those all add up, but like,
Try
okay,
to make it work.
something about I'm going to make fire with a flint and be naked and I'll be a man.
You do that, Jim. I support that idea 100%.
Don't forget 100% every campsite running around in his
Got it.
underwear.
Perfect.
I don't
It's
get
gotta
it.
be a guy
Okay.
thing.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. And yeah, just getting through
And,
Utah.
Liza, I'll try and do a few advanced diagnostics on the KZ while you're away and see if at least I can trace it down.
Oh, thanks. I left the carburetor off.
Yeah, that's fine.
I opened it up. I didn't see anything unusual in there.
Okay. We'll
Feel free
get
to
to
play
the
with it.
bottom of it.
And
We'll get to the bottom of it.
yeah, so I think that's about it. Go to motorcyclesandmisfits.com.
Those
Indeed.
guys.
If you want to find out more about us, find links to any of our old shows, you want to see what Knock looks like before his Rona hair. He's afraid to go get a haircut. I want to see how long you go. I think you're like, fuck it, I'm going for it.
Hey,
This
I'm
is
afraid to go
the
get a
longest.
haircut.
Yeah, this is the longest it's ever been since high school.
Yeah, I'm letting my hair go too. I ain't going to a haircut.
Yep.
People getting sick. I don't need a haircut that bad.
Y'all damn hippies. Well, you should get a haircut while you can, because I think things are about to be shut down again here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's coming.
Yeah, I ate out yesterday twice in outdoor restaurants. Both times I felt a little bit like, I don't know if this is worth the risk. I don't know. But it was nice. I was out with my parents, and they feel like it is worth the risk, and they were buying, so I went. Like, free food.
Shit.
Jeez.
Yeah, I should say free food is worth the risk. And someone else is buying. But yeah, I think it's all going to get shut down. You know, and I'm just going to say it once again, everyone be safe.
Please.
Wear a mask. Why not?
Stay distanced.
Stay distance. Go ride. I'm still on board with just go ride. I know when this all first went down, we were all just like, what do we do? Don't move. Don't do anything.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Go ride. It's the best therapy. And be safe.
And work on your projects. Get shit running.
Yeah, you know what? And keep the emails coming. I especially love when people share that they just started wrenching. It is so cool.
Right.
And, keep buying more tools. That's really the secret. It's having better tools, the right tools. That's really the most empowering thing. It's the confidence, the knowledge, but the tools are the ones that get you there.
Yeah, you get to justify your purchases. It's like, oh, I need a snap ring for this or whatever. I need a new impact gun.
Right. Oh, I have something to share with you, Liza.
Oh, yeah?
You challenged me, I think, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I have a horn coming from a Yugo that is going to go on the Trident.
Nice.
Excellent.
Wow.
So it is going to be the world's only Triumph Trident with a Suzuki Katana front end and a horn from a Yugo.
Does it honk in Yugoslavian?
I believe so. I think it's going to sound like a ruptured duck.
Can I throw out another challenge?
Maybe.
To use anything from a Mack truck.
Okay.
You're hoping she's going to use the Bulldog, aren't you?
No, it might even be a bead from the seat. The truck drivers have those beaded seats. I don't know.
That's not
yeah,
OEM,
that'd be good, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff in Mack truck, but a lot of it too is about for comfort, long haul stuff. They're built well.
Yes.
And yes, I have a Bulldog. I have put one on a bike before.
And you know what? If you have never actually sat and looked at a Mack Bulldog, they are hilarious. That is the wackiest cartoon bulldog. I mean, they look like a bulldog on acid.
I have one in the kitchen, in fact.
But yeah, they are the funniest thing. But I'll take that challenge.
If you got to put something from a Mack truck, it sounds like a good excuse for a suicide shifter.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, or maybe like a pedal. You know what, Emma? You know what I have that I gotta find a project. This is from the 70s. In like a dune buggy, there were these aftermarket pedals you could buy that are in the shape of a foot.
Yeah, I remember
one. Gas pedal.
I have one, the barefoot gas pedal.
Yep.
We gotta find a project.
Okay, you've got me thinking.
You could turn those into floorboards on like a cruiser or something. Good rest.
All right, let's wrap up. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Get out of here.
Emma, thank you for all your help on the garage and in advance for running everything.
Oh, you're welcome.
next week.
That means everybody has to do exactly what I say. Are you listening, Bagel?
I am.
It's going to be torture.
Hanging on every word.
I'm just curious, Bagel, if she turns to you and says, give me 10, what are you giving her?
I'll give her 5 twice.
No, you give me a 10mm socket.
Ah, yes.
We're going to rename Recycle Garage Emma's Reign of Terror.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It sounds like a roller coaster.
Yes. No, we're going
Awesome.
to have a good time. You will be missed. Be safe. Keep Jim safe. Don't eat the haggis. And check in with us next week when we're doing the podcast with Narc.
Yeah, I can't wait. Like I said, those are my favorite shows, the ones I'm not on. So we're ready to do the sign out. Jordan, Kris, are you ready for this? You ready? Okay.
Yep.
When I point to you, you go. Okay. Thanks everyone for listening. This is Liza.
Emma, darling.
Bagel.
This is not. Perfect timing.
One more time.
This is not.
You guys, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here.
Have safe travels, guys.
And
everybody.
we are out of here.
Bye, y'all.
Cool.
Cool.
Thanks, everyone. You guys are ridiculous.